Ashra Tempel were a krautrock band from Germany. So let's just pause in talking about the band and talk very quickly about what krautrock is. The term krautrock was a slang British term for a musical movement in Germany, which was locally known as Komische music, which is cosmic music, which was from the 60s into the early 70s. It was more of a artistic movement than a style per se, but stylistically it was quite varied, but it tended to involve psychedelic music, improvisation, long, slow tracks, hypnotic rhythms, and bringing in aspects from avant-garde classical electronic music, which was just starting to happen, music concrete, which is music made using sounds, sometimes called noise music or noise rock, and it has connections to progressive rock, space rock, ambient music, trance music, and rave music, and in some ways is one of the seeds that fed into the development of prog rock in Britain and America in a few years from here. Back to Ashra Tempel. So they were led by a guy called Manuel Gutsching, and they existed from 1970 to 1976. They also involved a guy called Klaus Schultz, who was previously in Tangerine Dream, and had been in another band in between times, and now joined Ashra Tempel. He also had a prolific solo career as an electronic ambient musician through the 70s. Ashra Tempel slowly fell apart towards the end and eventually became a new entity called Ashra, one word, which was really Manuel Gutsching's solo work. But under the name Ashra Tempel, they produced 5 studio albums and a soundtrack album, and then in a later reincarnation, they produced one later album in the year 2000. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the second album from Ashra Tempel, and it's not my first exposure to them. I've been aware of them for a while. I had, quite a few years ago, I had a deliberate exploration of progressive rock, particularly, and as part of that, I started to become aware of krautrock and some of the bands in there. So this album is basically 3 tracks. They're quite long. The first one is short in comparison, only 6 minutes something long. Yeah, I'd love to just describe it as krautrock. If you knew what that meant, that'd be great. But I know that not everybody does. It's kind of experimental. It's not unmusical, but there are bits where there are just sounds and kind of soundscapes with sound effects going on. I think a lot of the sounds that are used have been created in some way using instruments, but not all, and studio technology. And then when it has got notes in it, it's often using kind of one note or one chord and kind of expanding on that. It's kind of hypnotic and repetitive. It's not electronic, but it is part of the seeds of things like drone music and trance music and stuff like that. It sounds quite Eastern at times, and partly that's the way of playing, partly that's the choice of instruments, but also partly it's the structures of the harmonies that are being used in there. And it's all about textures and soundscapes, and it's large and expansive, and it takes its time to develop. In some ways, it kind of feels more like some classical music. It certainly feels more like avant-garde classical music or contemporary classical music of the time, which was very much about textures and development and things like that. So it's very much not pop. It's not kind of, here's a song, we're going to sing it, we're going to have a hook, we're going to have a tune, and then, we'll get to the end and it'll be stuck in your head. None of this will stick in your head. Um, the third track particularly has got a long exploration of what you could do with the vibraphone, and it's interesting. So it's all about these textures, as I say, and the slow evolution, and it's a kind of some people would call it trippy music. I don't know if there is any drug relationship here at all. I don't really care actually, because I like it. This is very relaxing music for me. Not everybody would enjoy it because of the experimental nature of it. It's similar to some prog rock, and particularly, I think, Pink Floyd with their early music was strongly influenced by some of the krautrock things that were going on, and they started to produce long soundscapes in similar ways to this. So it's odd, but it's my kind of odd. It's something that I'm attuned to, and I quite like it. I do like listening to this sort of thing on headphones, but it's also the sort of thing that I'd quite like to be listening to whilst I'm doing something else. Actually working on something. So as background music. So yeah, I really like it. It's not for everyone, and I'd love to know what you think. So please let me know in the comments below. But that's it from me for now.